15 legendary Hollywood stars who hid their true identities from the studios. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was one of the most recognizable leading men of Hollywood's golden age, a star whose towering presence and smooth charm defined romantic cinema in the 1950s. Born on November 17, 1925 in Winnetka, Illinois, Hudson stood nearly 6 feet 5 inches tall, about 1.96 meters of physical presence that made him instantly memorable on screen. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, he moved to California to pursue acting and was eventually signed by Universal Pictures. With the help of agent Henry Wilson, he was groomed into one of the studio's biggest box office stars, appearing in more than 70 films over the course of his career. Hudson's breakthrough came with the melodrama Magnificent Obsession, 1954, which became a major commercial success, earning roughly $6.8 million at the U.S. box office. 2 years later, he delivered one of his most respected performances in Giant 1956, starring alongside Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. The epic drama earned Hudson an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, cementing his reputation as both a romantic lead and a serious performer. Throughout the late 1950s and early 1960s, he became famous for romantic comedies opposite Doris Day, including the hit Pillow Talk 1959, which further strengthened his image as the perfect Hollywood heartthrob. Behind the carefully managed publicity, however, Hudson's personal life remained closely guarded. During an era when homosexuality could destroy a career studio, executives arranged a marriage between Hudson and his agent's secretary, Phyllis Gates, in 1955, partly to quiet rumors. The marriage ended in divorce in 1958. Privately, Hudson maintained relationships with men, including a long-term partner, Tom Clark. In July 1985, Hudson publicly revealed that he had been diagnosed with AIDS, becoming the first major Hollywood celebrity associated with the disease. His announcement brought unprecedented global attention to the epidemic. When he died on October 2, 1985, at age 59, his story helped shift public conversation about illness stigma and the hidden pressures many stars once faced in Hollywood. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino was one of the first global movie idols, a silent film star whose charisma and style helped shape the concept of the Hollywood heartthrob. He was born on May 6, 1895, in Castellaneta, Italy, and originally trained in agriculture before immigrating to the United States in the early 1910s. After working a variety of jobs in New York, including as a professional dancer, Valentino moved to California and began pursuing acting roles in the rapidly growing film industry. His career changed dramatically in 1921 with the release of the silent film The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The movie became one of the biggest box office hits of its era, earning approximately $4.5 million worldwide, a remarkable figure for the early 1920s. Valentino's dramatic performance and memorable tango scene captivated audiences and helped popularize Latin dance styles across the United States. Practically overnight, he became a cultural phenomenon and one of the most recognizable stars of the silent film era. Throughout the early 1920s, Valentino appeared in several successful romantic adventure films that reinforced his image as the ultimate exotic leading man. His expressive acting style and distinctive elegance stood apart from the more rugged masculinity typical of American male stars at the time. While this made him enormously popular with female audiences, it also led to criticism from some commentators who described his appearance and mannerisms as overly refined. Valentino's personal life often attracted attention from the press. His first marriage to actress Jean Acker in 1919 ended almost immediately and was widely reported to have never been fully consummated. A few years later, he married costume designer Natasha Rambova in 1923, but the relationship ended in divorce in 1925 after intense public scrutiny and professional disagreements. Tragically, Valentino's life ended at the height of his fame. He died on August 23, 1926, at just 31 years old, following complications from a perforated ulcer. His funeral in New York drew an estimated 100,000 mourners, illustrating the extraordinary impact he had on audiences worldwide and confirming his place as one of cinema's earliest international superstars. Liberace. Liberace was one of the most flamboyant and commercially successful entertainers of the mid-20th century, a pianist who transformed classical performance into a dazzling spectacle of showmanship. Born on May 16, 1919 in West Allis, Wisconsin, Waju Valentino Liberace grew up in a musical family. A child prodigy on the piano, he began performing publicly while still very young and studied classical music throughout his youth. By the 1940s, he was already developing the distinctive stage persona that would make him famous, mixing virtuosic piano playing with humor storytelling and extravagant costumes. Liberace's national breakthrough came with The Liberace Show, which aired from 1952 to 1957 and became one of the most popular syndicated television programs of the decade. At its peak, the show reportedly attracted around 30 million viewers each week, an enormous audience for early television. Liberace's popularity translated into significant financial success. He was earning about $50,000 per episode, an extraordinary salary at the time. By the 1960s and 1970s, he had become a fixture on the Las Vegas Strip, performing lavish residency shows that generated millions of dollars annually and cemented his reputation as one of the highest-paid entertainers in the world. Despite the glamour of his public persona, Liberace's personal life remained a subject of constant speculation. In 1957, he filed a libel lawsuit against a British newspaper that implied he was gay. Liberace won the case and received £8,000 in damages, about $22,000 at the time, reinforcing his public denial of the rumors. Privately, however, he had relationships with men, including Scott Thorson, who later filed a highly publicized palimony lawsuit in 1982, claiming financial support after their relationship ended. In the mid-1980s, as Liberace's health declined, questions about illness surfaced in the media. He publicly attributed his condition to heart problems and other medical issues. Liberace died on February 4, 1987, at age 67 in Palm Springs, California. With his rhinestone costumes, candelabra-topped pianos, and unmatched flair for spectacle, he left behind a legacy as one of the most unforgettable showmen in entertainment history. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was one of the most influential actors of mid-20th century cinema, known for bringing emotional depth and vulnerability to the screen at a time when Hollywood favored traditional heroic masculinity. He was born on October 17, 1920 in Omaha, Nebraska, and displayed remarkable talent at an early age. By 15 years old, Clift had already begun performing on Broadway, quickly gaining recognition for his intense stage presence. Unlike many actors of his era, he spent nearly a decade refining his craft in theater before entering films, which helped shape his distinctive, psychologically complex style of acting. Clift made his Hollywood debut in 1948 with The Western Red River, starring opposite John Wayne. The film was both a critical and commercial success, earning about $4.5 million at the U.S. box office, and it immediately established Clift as a major new talent. He soon became known for emotionally layered roles in films such as A Place in the Sun, 1951, and the war drama, From Here to Eternity, 1953, which grossed roughly $30 million worldwide and won 8 Academy Awards. Over the course of his career, Clift received 4 Academy Award nominations, confirming his status as one of the most respected actors of his generation. Off-screen, Clift lived a private and often complicated personal life. Historians and biographers have described him as bisexual, and he maintained relationships with both men and women during his lifetime. Like many performers in that era, he kept his personal life largely out of the public eye in order to protect his career. In May 1956, Clift survived a devastating car accident after leaving a dinner party hosted by Elizabeth Taylor. The crash caused severe facial injuries and marked a turning point in his life, contributing to long-term health struggles and increasing dependence on alcohol and prescription medication. Montgomery Clift died on July 23, 1966, at the age of 45. Despite a relatively short film career, he helped redefine screen acting by portraying sensitive, conflicted characters. His approach influenced a generation of performers, including icons such as Marlon Brando, who helped usher in a new era of emotionally realistic acting in Hollywood. Merv Griffin. Merv Griffin was one of the most successful figures in American television history, building a career that combined performance production and business innovation. He was born on July 6, 1925, in San Mateo, California, and grew up in a family that encouraged music and entertainment. Griffin first gained recognition as a singer, releasing several recordings in the late 1940s and early 1950s. His warm personality and natural speaking style eventually led him to television, where he began hosting talk shows and game programs during the early years of the medium. Griffin's greatest success came with the creation of the daytime talk program The Merv Griffin Show. The show debuted in 1962 and continued in various formats until 1986, becoming one of the longest-running talk shows of its era. Over its run, Griffin interviewed an extraordinary range of guests from film, politics, sports, and music, with an estimated 25,000 individuals appearing on the program. His relaxed interviewing style made conversations feel personal rather than confrontational, helping him become a trusted television host for millions of viewers. Beyond hosting, Griffin demonstrated remarkable skill as a television producer and entrepreneur. In 1964, he created the quiz show Jeopardy, which introduced a unique format where contestants were given answers and had to respond in the form of a question. The concept proved enormously successful and later became one of the most enduring game shows in television history. Griffin also developed the equally famous program Wheel of Fortune, further expanding his influence in the entertainment industry. Through production, companies, licensing deals, and media investments, Griffin built a substantial fortune. Over time, his financial success grew dramatically, and by the early 2000s, his net worth was widely estimated at around $1 billion, making him one of the wealthiest figures in television. Although his personal life was often discussed in media speculation, Griffin generally preferred to keep those matters private and focused publicly on his work. Merv Griffin died on August 12, 2007, at the age of 82. His legacy remains deeply connected to the development of modern television entertainment and the enduring popularity of the programs he created. John Gielgud. John Gielgud was one of the most respected actors of the 20th century, a performer whose elegant voice and mastery of classical theater shaped generations of stage and film acting. He was born on April 14, 1904, in London, England, into a family deeply connected to the performing arts. Gielgud began acting professionally in the early 1920s and quickly established himself on the British stage, particularly through his interpretations of Shakespeare. Over time, he became widely regarded as one of the finest Shakespearean actors of his era. Throughout his extraordinary career, which lasted more than 82 years, Gielgud demonstrated remarkable versatility across theater, film, television, and radio. One of his most celebrated stage achievements was the one-man theatrical performance, The Ages of Man, a production built entirely from Shakespearean speeches. The show premiered in the 1950s and earned him the Tony Award in 1959, highlighting his exceptional ability to command the stage alone with nothing but language and presence. Decades later, Gielgud achieved major recognition in film when he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as the witty butler Hobson in the comedy Arthur. Despite his immense professional success, Gielgud's personal life briefly became the subject of public attention in 1953, when he was arrested in London for what was then described as a public morality offense. At the time, homosexuality was still illegal in the United Kingdom. Gielgud was fined £10, and many feared the incident might damage his reputation. However, something remarkable happened when he returned to the stage shortly afterward. Audiences greeted him with warm applause and continued to support his work. In private life, Gielgud eventually shared a long-term partnership with Martin Hensler, with whom he lived for decades. Their relationship lasted until the late 1990s, reflecting a quieter side of a man whose public image was defined by discipline and professionalism. Sir John Gielgud died on May 21, 2000, at the age of 96. By the end of his life, he had become a towering figure in world theater, remembered not only for surviving a difficult era, but for maintaining an artistic legacy that influenced actors across generations. Raymond Burr was a commanding presence in mid-20th century film and television, best remembered for portraying one of the most famous defense attorneys in television history. He was born on May 21, 1917, in New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada, and spent much of his early life moving between Canada and the United States. Burr studied drama in California and began acting on stage and radio before transitioning into films in the 1940s. His imposing build, deep voice, and serious demeanor made him particularly effective in intense dramatic roles. During his early film career, Burr often appeared as villains or morally complex characters. One of his most notable performances came in the Alfred Hitchcock thriller Rear Window 1954, where he played the mysterious neighbor Lars Thorwald opposite James Stewart and Grace Kelly. The film later became regarded as one of Hitchcock's greatest works, and Burr's performance contributed to its enduring suspense. However, Burr achieved his greatest fame on television through the courtroom drama Perry Mason, which aired from 1957 to 1966. The series ran for 271 episodes, making it one of the longest-running and most successful legal dramas of its era. Burr's portrayal of the brilliant defense attorney earned him 2 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Audiences admired the character's calm intelligence and unwavering dedication to justice, and the show became a staple of American television during the late 1950s and early 1960s. In his personal life, Burr was known for guarding his privacy carefully. During a period when Hollywood placed heavy expectations on public image, he told interviewers a tragic story about a wife and son who had died years earlier. Later research by biographers found that the story was fictional. In reality, Burr shared a long-term partnership with actor and producer Robert Benavides. The two men were together for more than 35 years and even co-owned a vineyard in California. Raymond Burr died on September 12, 1993, at the age of 76. His estate, estimated at about $32 million, was largely left to Benavides. Burr remains remembered for bringing dignity, intelligence, and authority to one of television's most iconic legal roles. Tony Randall. Tony Randall was a distinguished American actor celebrated for his wit, elegance, and remarkable versatility across stage, film, and television. He was born on February 26, 1920, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and developed an early interest in theater and classical performance. Randall studied drama at Northwestern University before serving briefly in the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II. After the war, he returned to acting and quickly became involved in stage productions where his precise comedic timing and intellectual style began attracting attention. Randall first gained major recognition on Broadway. One of his most notable early successes came with the play Inherit the Wind, which premiered in 1955 and became a landmark American courtroom drama inspired by the famous Scopes trial. Randall's performance demonstrated his ability to bring intelligence and emotional nuance to complex characters, establishing him as a respected stage actor. His greatest fame, however, arrived on television. Randall became a household name through the hit sitcom The Odd Couple, which aired from 1970 to 1975. In the series, he portrayed the meticulous and anxious Felix Unger opposite the laid-back Oscar Madison, played by Jack Klugman. The contrast between the two characters created one of television's most beloved comedic partnerships. Randall's performance earned him the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series in 1975, cementing his reputation as one of the era's finest comedic performers. Randall's personal life also drew public curiosity. His first marriage lasted more than 50 years, reflecting a long period of stability away from the spotlight. Later in life, in 1995, he married Heather Harlan, who was about 50 years younger than him. The couple eventually had 2 children, an unexpected chapter that surprised many fans and media observers. Throughout his career, Randall remained dedicated to theater and the preservation of classical acting traditions. He later founded the National Actors Theater in New York, supporting productions of classic plays and giving new generations of performers opportunities on stage. Tony Randall died on May 17, 2004, at the age of 84. Remembered for his intelligence, charm, and distinctive comedic style, he left behind a legacy that bridged Broadway, Hollywood, and television with remarkable grace. Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero was a charismatic performer whose career stretched across more than 5 decades in film, television, and theater. Born on February 15, 1907 in New York City, Romero came from a Cuban-American family with strong cultural roots. He first stepped onto the professional stage in 1929, making his debut on Broadway during a time when musical revues and light comedies dominated American theater. His good looks, natural charm, and confident stage presence quickly caught the attention of Hollywood producers. By the 1930s and 1940s, Romero had become a recognizable screen presence, often cast as the suave Latin lover or romantic leading man. One of his notable roles came in the musical comedy Weekend in Havana, 1941, where his charm and elegance fit perfectly within the glamorous style of studio-era filmmaking. Over the course of his career, Romero appeared in more than 100 films, working with major studios and establishing himself as a dependable supporting actor with a memorable personality. A new generation of audiences discovered Romero in the 1960s through his unforgettable portrayal of the Joker in the television series Batman. Appearing in 22 episodes, his version of the iconic villain was playful, theatrical, and slightly mischievous, perfectly matching the show's colorful tone. One famous detail became part of television lore. Romero refused to shave his trademark mustache for the role, so makeup artists simply painted the Joker's white makeup over it. The decision only added to the character's quirky appeal and made Romero's performance even more distinctive. In his personal life, Romero was known among close friends and colleagues for being sociable and generous, though he kept his private relationships away from public scrutiny. During an era when Hollywood carefully controlled the personal image of its stars, Romero never married and rarely discussed his personal life in interviews. Cesar Romero died on January 1, 1994, at the age of 86. Remembered for his elegance, humor, and versatility, he left behind a legacy that spanned classic Hollywood musicals, adventure films, and one of television's most memorable comic book villains. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde was one of television's most recognizable comedic personalities during the late 1960s and 1970s, known for his sharp wit, theatrical delivery, and unmistakable voice. He was born on June 13, 1926 in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and developed an early interest in performance. After graduating from Northwestern University's theater program, Lynde moved to New York to pursue acting and comedy. His career began on stage, including appearances on Broadway and in touring productions, where he quickly developed a reputation for his clever timing and sarcastic humor. Lynde's biggest breakthrough came on television with the popular game show Hollywood Squares. Beginning in 1968, he became the program's most famous panelist, usually occupying the center square. The show eventually produced more than 4,000 episodes, and Lynde's quick one-liners and mischievous reactions became a defining feature of the program. His humor often relied on double meanings and exaggerated expressions, which made audiences laugh without crossing the boundaries of network television standards at the time. For many viewers, Lynde was the main reason to watch the show. In addition to his game show success, Lynde also made memorable appearances in scripted television. One of his best-known roles was Uncle Arthur on the sitcom Bewitched, where he appeared in 10 episodes during the late 1960s. Playing the playful and eccentric relative of the magical family, Lynde brought a lively energy that fit perfectly with the show's whimsical tone. His unique comedic style also led to frequent guest appearances on variety shows and talk programs throughout the 1970s. Off-screen, Lynn's personal life was largely kept out of the spotlight. Like many entertainers of his era, he avoided discussing his sexuality publicly, choosing instead to express parts of his personality through comedy. Friends and colleagues often described him as both witty and sensitive, though he struggled with alcohol later in life. Paul Lynde died on January 10, 1982, at the age of 55. Today, he is remembered as a pioneer of television comedy whose distinctive humor helped shape an entire era of American game shows and variety entertainment. Jack Cassidy. Jack Cassidy was a charismatic performer whose career spanned Broadway television and film during the mid-20th century. Born on March 5, 1927 in Queens, New York, Cassidy grew up in a creative environment that nurtured his interest in acting and music. His striking good looks, rich baritone voice, and confident stage presence helped him quickly stand out in the competitive world of musical theater. By the 1950s, he had begun establishing himself as a versatile entertainer who could move easily between dramatic roles and musical performances. Cassidy's greatest recognition came on the Broadway stage. In 1964, he won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical for his performance in She Loves Me. The role showcased his exceptional comedic timing and vocal talent, confirming him as one of the most dynamic performers working in musical theater at the time. His Broadway success soon opened doors in television, where he became a frequent guest star in popular series throughout the 1960s and early 1970s. Cassidy appeared in a wide range of roles, often portraying sophisticated villains or charming but unpredictable characters. His theatrical style and expressive delivery made him particularly memorable in mystery and drama programs. Cassidy's personal life was closely followed by the press, especially after he married actress and singer Shirley Jones in 1956. The couple became one of Hollywood's most recognizable families, and they had 3 sons together, including future pop star and actor David Cassidy. However, the marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1974 after years of personal strain. Biographers have since described Cassidy as bisexual, noting that he maintained relationships with both men and women during his lifetime. Despite his professional achievements, Cassidy struggled with alcoholism during the later years of his career, which affected both his health and work opportunities. Tragically, his life ended suddenly on December 12, 1976, when he died in a fire at his apartment in West Hollywood at the age of 49. Though his career was cut short, Jack Cassidy remains remembered for his magnetic stage presence and distinctive performances that left a lasting mark on Broadway and television. Dick Sargent. Dick Sargent was an American television actor best known for his role in one of the most popular sitcoms of the 1960s and early 1970s. He was born on April 19, 1930, in Carmel, California, into a family connected to the entertainment industry. His father worked as a film producer and writer, which helped introduce Sargent to the world of Hollywood from an early age. After studying at the University of Southern California, he began building his career with small roles in film and television during the 1950s. Throughout the late 1950s and 1960s, Sargent appeared in a variety of television series, gradually establishing himself as a dependable character actor. His career reached its highest visibility when he joined the cast of the beloved sitcom Bewitched. In 1969, Sargent replaced actor Dick York as the character Darren Stevens, the mortal husband of the magical Samantha Stevens. Sargent portrayed the role from 1969 to 1972, becoming widely recognized by television audiences across the United States. Although stepping into an already famous role was challenging, he brought his own calm and approachable style to the character during the show's later seasons. After Bewitched ended, Sargent continued acting in television guest roles, stage productions, and occasional film appearances. However, in later years, he became increasingly known for his social advocacy rather than his acting work alone. In 1991, Sargent publicly acknowledged that he was gay, becoming one of the few television actors from his generation to openly discuss his identity. Following his announcement, he devoted significant energy to activism, particularly around issues affecting the LGBTQ community and the growing public awareness of HIV/AIDS. Sargent participated in fundraising events, public discussions, and awareness campaigns, helping encourage greater understanding during a time when the subject was still widely misunderstood. Dick Sargent died on July 8, 1994, at the age of 64, after battling prostate cancer. Though best remembered for his television role, his later decision to speak openly and support LGBTQ causes added an important dimension to his legacy, reflecting both personal courage and a commitment to social progress. Will Geer. Will Geer was a respected American actor and activist whose career reflected both artistic dedication and strong personal convictions. He was born on March 9, 1902 in Frankfort, Indiana, and developed an early interest in literature, theater, and social issues. After studying at the University of Chicago, Geer began performing in traveling theater groups during the 1920s. His deep voice, expressive face, and natural storytelling ability made him well-suited for character roles on stage and later in film and television. Geer's acting career grew steadily through the 1930s and 1940s as he appeared in numerous stage productions and films. However, his career faced a major interruption during the early years of the Cold War. In 1951, during the height of the Hollywood blacklist, Geer was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee. Because of his left-leaning political beliefs and refusal to cooperate fully with investigators, he was effectively blacklisted, making it difficult for him to find work in mainstream Hollywood for several years. Despite these obstacles, Geer continued performing in theater and independent projects while maintaining his commitment to social activism. His career eventually recovered, and he reached his greatest popularity later in life, when he was cast as the wise and warm-hearted grandfather in the television drama, The Waltons. Airing from 1972 to 1978, the series became a beloved family program in the United States. Geer's portrayal of Grandpa Walton earned him widespread admiration and ultimately an Emmy Award recognizing the emotional authenticity he brought to the role. In his personal life, Geer maintained a complex identity that combined family life with progressive beliefs. He married actress Herta Ware in 1934, and the couple had 3 children together. At the same time, historical accounts note that Geer had relationships with both men and women and was connected to early gay rights circles, including an association with activist Harry Hay. Will Geer died on April 22, 1978, at the age of 76. Remembered as both an actor and an advocate for social justice, he left behind a legacy that combined artistic achievement with early support for equality and personal freedom. Kerwin Matthews. Kerwin Matthews was an American actor best remembered for his roles in fantasy and adventure films during the late 1950s and early 1960s. He was born on January 8, 1926, in Seattle, Washington, and grew up with an interest in storytelling and performance. After studying drama at the University of Washington, Matthews began building his acting career on stage before moving into television and film. His tall, athletic appearance and confident presence made him an ideal choice for heroic leading roles, particularly in action and fantasy stories that were popular during that era. Matthews achieved international recognition with the fantasy adventure film The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Released in 1958, the movie became one of the most successful fantasy films of its time, earning approximately $7.2 million at the box office. The film was especially famous for its groundbreaking stop-motion visual effects created by legendary animator Ray Harryhausen, as the brave sailor Sinbad Matthews portrayed a confident and adventurous hero who battled mythical creatures and embarked on epic quests. The film's popularity helped establish him as a recognizable face in fantasy cinema and introduced his work to audiences around the world. Throughout the early 1960s, Matthews continued appearing in adventure and historical productions, often portraying noble or courageous characters. While he never became one of Hollywood's biggest box office superstars, he built a steady career and gained a loyal following among fans of classic fantasy films. By the late 1970s, however, Matthews gradually stepped away from acting, officially retiring from the industry around 1978. Outside of the public spotlight, Matthews chose a quiet and private life. For 46 years, he shared his life with his partner Tom Nicole, and the couple settled in San Francisco, where they focused on business ventures and a peaceful lifestyle away from Hollywood. Kerwin Matthews died on July 5, 2007 at the age of 81. Though he left the entertainment industry decades earlier, his performances, especially in classic fantasy cinema, remain fondly remembered by audiences who continue to celebrate the imaginative films of that era. George Nader. George Nader was an American actor whose career reflected both the opportunities and the limitations of Hollywood during the 1950s. He was born on October 19, 1921 in Pasadena, California, and grew up in a creative environment that encouraged artistic pursuits. After serving in the United States Navy during World War II, Nader returned home and began pursuing acting professionally. His tall, athletic appearance and confident screen presence quickly attracted attention from film studios looking for new leading men. During the early 1950s, Nader appeared in a number of adventure and Western films that helped establish him as a rising star. One of his notable performances came in the Western Four Guns to the Border, 1954, a film that earned him the Golden Globe Award for Most Promising Newcomer, Male, in 1954. The recognition placed him among a new generation of actors expected to become major Hollywood figures. He soon signed with Universal Pictures, appearing in several films and television projects throughout the decade. However, by the mid-1950s, Nader's trajectory in Hollywood began to change. During a period when studios were extremely sensitive to public image, and rumors, speculation about actors' personal lives could significantly affect their careers. As gossip circulated within the industry, Nader found that major roles were becoming less frequent. By 1955, he began shifting his focus toward international productions and eventually built a successful career in European cinema, particularly in Germany, where audiences embraced his performances in adventure and science fiction films. Away from the spotlight, Nader lived a stable and long-lasting personal life. He shared a relationship with his partner Mark Miller for more than 55 years, a partnership that remained largely private during the height of his acting career. In later years, Nader also explored writing and published science fiction novels that examined themes of identity and humanity. George Nader died on February 4, 2002, at the age of 80. Though his Hollywood career was shorter than expected, he remains remembered as a talented performer who found new creative paths and continued contributing to storytelling both on screen and on the page. The stories of these classic stars remind us that the golden age of Hollywood was often far more complicated than the glamorous image audiences saw on screen. Many actors built legendary careers while quietly navigating personal truths that the industry of their time refused to accept. Some chose silence to protect their livelihoods, while others eventually spoke openly and helped shift public attitudes. But it raises an interesting question for fans today. If these stars had lived and worked in a more accepting era, would their careers and their lives have unfolded differently? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Legendary TV Memories for more untold Hollywood stories.